Welcome to Mello Tone Inn. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. For more stories like the one you are about to hear, please like and subscribe. Thank you. My name is Darius, and the story I'm about to share begins with my younger brother Mason and I. We were just two ordinary brothers living in the heart of Seattle, caught up in the typical city chaos, but always carrying an unusual curiosity. We'd lose ourselves in books about the mystic and the metaphysical, fascinated by the worlds beyond the ones our eyes could see. Mason, the more creative one, was a passionate artist, often losing himself in painting abstract. His work was always vibrant, often filled with imagery from dreams and thoughts of otherworldly landscapes. His imagination was a well that never ran dry. I, on the other hand, was more analytical, devouring every piece of literature on metaphysics, quantum physics, and consciousness studies I could find. Our lives took an intriguing turn when we discovered an old, almost forgotten book in a small bookstore. The Astral Odyssey, a gateway to the unseen, it was called. Intrigued, we took it home, unknowingly opening the doors to a reality we'd only ever dreamt about. The book was filled with tales of the astral realm, techniques to separate the astral body, and wisdom from the entities residing in these unseen dimensions. Night after night, we pored over its pages, and soon, we began practicing the techniques it described. Every evening, after our usual routines, Mason and I would retreat to our respective rooms. We practiced the breathing exercises outlined in the book, focusing on the rise and fall of our chests, the rhythm becoming a grounding force as we prepared to venture into the astral plane. We visualized our astral selves, focusing on the sensation of floating above our physical bodies. Initially, the experiences were fleeting and hazy, like trying to remember a distant dream. But with time, our encounters with the astral plane grew clearer, lasting longer. During our early projections, we barely ventured past our own house. We would see ourselves from an observer's perspective, floating in our rooms, our physical bodies seemingly in deep slumber below us. It was surreal, like watching a movie of our lives from the director's chair. We would often reconvene in the kitchen late at night, sharing our experiences over cups of hot chocolate, the thrill of these new experiences reflected in our wide, excited eyes. Gradually, as we honed our skills, we began to extend our travels. We visited places we'd never physically been, from remote forests to bustling cities on the other side of the world. We found we could communicate with each other during these excursions, our astral selves interacting as easily as our physical selves did. Perhaps the most enthralling discovery was our encounters with the inhabitants of the astral world. These enlightened entities, shimmering figures of energy, shared wisdom, and tales from the astral plane. Each conversation, each journey was like a new chapter in our astral odyssey, filled with profound revelations and extraordinary discoveries. Months passed, and our proficiency in astral traveling grew. We became adept navigators of this unseen world, our nightly adventures evolving into deep explorations of these unseen dimensions. However, as we reveled in the marvels of the astral plane, we were unknowingly inching closer to a dark side of this realm, a side we should have steered clear from. Unbeknownst to us, our lives were about to take a dramatic and perilous turn. Our nightly astral travels were always a source of joy, a testament to our shared fascination with the unseen. But there was a particular night that marked the beginning of a disturbing chapter in our lives. We'd started the evening like any other, each of us retreating to our rooms, our breaths slowing down as we prepared to step into the astral plane. Little did we know, this wasn't going to be one of our regular explorations. In our astral forms, Mason and I had decided to journey further than we'd ever been. Drawn to an unexplored region of the astral plane, we found ourselves in front of what appeared to be a swirling vortex of energy. It was unlike anything we'd encountered before. Its dark allure was both fascinating and unnerving. Ignoring the unease that tingled at the back of our minds, we decided to investigate, our curiosity overpowering our caution. As we approached the vortex, we could feel a palpable shift in the energy around us. It was denser, colder. We hesitated, but the portal seemed to pulse with an otherworldly magnetism that pulled us in. We crossed the vortex, stepping into a realm of the astral plane that was markedly different from the luminous landscapes we'd become accustomed to. The air was thick with an inexplicable dread, the surroundings unnaturally quiet. It was there that we encountered it, a shadowy figure that seemed more void than entity. We could feel its darkness, an evil like we'd never experienced. Panicked, we made our hasty retreat, racing back through the vortex and willing ourselves back to our physical bodies. We awoke with a jolt, our hearts pounding, the terrifying image of the entity etched into our minds. But the nightmare had only begun. In the days that followed, strange occurrences started to plague our lives. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut out of nowhere, and an eerie chill seemed to linger in our home. Even worse, our parents and younger sister began to report unsettling dreams, feelings of being watched. Our home, once filled with warmth and laughter, was now suffused with an atmosphere of fear and unease. It didn't take long for Mason and me to connect the dots. We'd brought something back from the astral plane, something malevolent. The entity from the vortex had somehow hitched a ride back into our world, invisibly threading itself into our lives. We'd opened a door that we didn't know how to close, and now our family was in danger. The thrill of our astral journeys had given way to a terror we had never imagined, forcing us to confront the consequences of our reckless curiosity. The realization hit us like a cold wave. We, two naive brothers so captivated by the astral plane's allure, had endangered our own family. It was a sobering moment, but it was also the wake-up call we needed. Mason and I knew we had to set things right. We couldn't let this entity wreak havoc in our world, and more importantly, in our families' lives. We made a pact, there and then, to send this malevolent presence back to its realm. Fueled by our determination to correct our mistake, Mason and I returned to the source of our astral journey, the Astral Odyssey. This time, our focus was different. No longer were we seeking to explore. Instead, we were on a mission to protect and rectify. The book, which had seemed an enchanting guide before, now transformed into a tome of knowledge crucial to our survival and our family's safety. We scoured its time-worn pages, searching for anything that could aid us in dealing with the menacing entity we'd unwillingly unleashed. The worn leather binding, the faded ink, the delicate parchment, every aspect of the book seemed to whisper tales of ancient wisdom. Every night, by the soft glow of our desk lamps, we immersed ourselves in its cryptic texts, decoding complex phrases and puzzling over archaic symbols. Among the wealth of information, we found what we'd been seeking: references to powerful symbols and mantras that, as per the book, held power in the astral plane. These symbols, intricate and geometrically perfect, were said to provide protection against astral entities. The mantras, on the other hand, were sequences of foreign words that felt strangely soothing when pronounced. They were meant to banish unwanted astral beings, pushing them back to their realms. In the silent hours of the night, Mason and I painstakingly copied these symbols onto sheets of paper, practicing until our fingers ached and the symbols were perfect. We repeated the mantras, their strange syllables rolling off our tongues, filling our rooms with an almost palpable energy. We tested these new defenses in our astral travels, projecting them against the lesser entities we encountered. Initially, it was challenging to hold on to the physical symbols and mantras within the astral realm. Still, with practice, we found that the symbols and sounds were not just material or vocal, but constructs of thought and energy in this realm. Each successful projection bolstered our confidence. The symbols and mantras became our armory, our words and thoughts transforming into shields and weapons in the astral plane. They were etched into our memories, ready to be summoned at will. As we continued to prepare ourselves for the inevitable confrontation with the dark entity, we held on to the hope that this newfound knowledge would be our key to restoring peace in our world. Each night, as the world around us fell into a peaceful slumber, Mason and I plunged into a realm far from peaceful. The tranquility of our bedrooms, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight, was starkly contrasted by the battleground we stepped into. The once inviting astral plane had become a domain of confrontation, a nightly theater of battle against the menacing entity we had inadvertently set loose. Every encounter with the entity was a chilling experience. Unlike the benevolent astral beings we had met earlier, this entity was a pulsating mass of darkness, void-like, a smoky, nebulous figure that filled the astral plane with its ominous presence. Its aura was icy and heavy, the atmosphere around it thick with malevolence. Each encounter with it sent icy tendrils of fear coiling around our astral forms, its menacing presence a stark reminder of the potential dangers of the astral realm. But we stood our ground. Armed with the symbols and mantras we'd learned, we fought back. We held the intricate symbols before us, their geometric patterns gleaming with an ethereal light. We chanted the mantras, our voices resonating in the astral plane, waves of sound energy rippling outwards. It was a struggle to maintain focus, to remember the lines and shapes amidst the paralyzing fear, but we willed ourselves to press on. Each confrontation was a test, not only of our courage but also of our resolve. The entity was powerful, fighting back with gusts of frigid wind, assaulting us with terrifying visions, and trying to pry into our thoughts. We clung to each other, our astral forms leaning on each other for support. We felt each other's fear, each other's determination, our bond as brothers solidifying in the face of this astral threat. With every battle, we learned more about the entity and about ourselves. We discovered reservoirs of courage we never knew we possessed, found strength in our mutual resolve, and drew power from our shared purpose. The entity may have been formidable, but it had not reckoned with the determination of two brothers fighting for their family. We were not just astral explorers anymore. We were warriors in the astral plane, defending our world from an insidious intruder. Through our numerous encounters with the entity, our abilities as astral travelers grew exponentially. Necessity and survival turned us from amateurs to skilled navigators of the astral plane. We discovered that we could manipulate the energy around us, forming shields from the astral energy to protect ourselves. We learned to communicate better, not just with each other, but also with other astral entities, our thoughts carrying our intentions clearly across the astral realm. We even found we could hasten our return to the physical world, snapping back to our bodies at the first sign of danger. Our spiritual resilience, too, strengthened over time. Our confrontations with the entity were not just physical battles, but spiritual ones as well. We learned to calm our minds, to push back against the fear and despair that the entity tried to induce. We discovered that the strength of our spirit was just as vital, if not more, than any symbol or mantra we used. It was our willpower, our determination, that stood as our primary defense against the entity's assaults. As we honed our skills, our understanding of the astral plane's nature deepened. We began to perceive the subtle energy shifts in the astral realm, the ebb and flow of spiritual power that was the lifeblood of this universe. We saw how our thoughts and emotions could influence this energy, adding or subtracting from it. The astral plane was not an illusion, but a reality, existing parallel to ours, but governed by its unique laws. As our struggles in the astral plane began to bear fruit, the first signs of progress manifested in our physical world. The insidious influence of the entity that had wreaked havoc in our homes started to weaken. The random movements of objects, the odd creaks and groans that had disturbed our peace, started to lessen. No longer did we wake up to find books toppled from shelves or chairs displaced from their usual spots. The strange noises that used to echo in the dead of night, eerie whispers and chilling cries, gradually quietened down. The sinister soundtrack that had filled our nights and fueled our nightmares started to fade, replaced by the familiar sounds of our home. The gentle hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak of old timber settling, the soft rustle of leaves in our backyard. Most importantly, the oppressive, chilling aura that had invaded our home began to recede. The air, once heavy with a cold, fear-inducing energy, started to lighten. The familiar warmth began to seep back into our home, the cheerful atmosphere of our family life slowly returning. The house was once again a sanctuary, not a haunted reminder of our recklessness. Our family, too, started to breathe easier. The fear that had held them in its icy grip started to loosen. The atmosphere of dread was replaced by a sense of normalcy. Laughter and lighthearted conversations returned to our dinner table. Our parents smiled more, their eyes losing the worried look that had become a constant. And finally, after weeks of relentless confrontation, after facing our deepest fears and pushing beyond our limits, we faced the entity for one last time. We stood together, stronger than we'd ever been, filled with a burning determination to end this nightmare once and for all. We chanted the mantras with a force we'd never mustered before, the symbols burning bright before us. Our combined energy pulsated through the astral plane, a beacon of light cutting through the entity's darkness. The entity recoiled, its dark form wavering under our onslaught. With one final surge of energy, we forced the entity back into the dark portal from where it had come, sealing it with the most potent symbol we knew. As the portal closed, a sense of peace descended upon the astral plane, a stark contrast to the intense struggle moments before. Exhausted but triumphant, we returned to our bodies, to our world, the battle finally over. Our journey into the astral plane had started as a quest for adventure and knowledge, but it had turned into a struggle for survival, a battle against an unseen enemy, and a journey of self-discovery. We had gone from curious explorers to astral warriors, learning about responsibility, courage, and the power of unity. Our lives would never be the same again, but we knew we were better for it. We had not just banished an evil entity, we had conquered our fears and come out stronger. Most importantly, we learned about responsibility. Our ability to traverse the astral plane was not just a fascinating gift to explore unseen realms. It was also a duty to protect our world from the unseen threats that lurked in the astral plane. We treated the astral plane as a playground for our curiosity, a world of wonder and wisdom. But we now saw it for what it truly was, a universe with its inhabitants, rules, and consequences. We understood that with every step we took in the astral realm, we bore the responsibility to tread carefully, to respect its laws and inhabitants, and to safeguard our realm from any astral peril. It was a sobering lesson, learned in the crucible of a battle we'd never imagined we'd fight.